All right. So on the program this morning, we're building a very, very competitive maritime sector in Nigeria. And we're looking at the roles of policy, infrastructure, and human capital. Joining me right now on the microphone, Mr. Lucky Amiwero, who's a maritime consultant, and he's also the president of the National Council of Managing Directors of Licensed Customs Agents. Mr. Amiwero, nice to have you. Good morning.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Right. So the last time we had a conversation with you was sometime in August last year, and I know we touched a whole lot on so many things. So how would you assess the industry as it stands today?
Well, the maritime industry is in a very terrible situation. Very terrible.
Why do you say that?
It needs a complete overhaul. It has been, industry is bedeviled with a lot of charges, procedures, wrong laws, laws that don't keep to conventions, institutions that are not actually trying to implement the provisions of their act. And many people are bringing charges, levies that are not supposed to be brought into the industry.
All right, so we'll talk about these levies and these charges as the program moves on. But, I mean, the reports and the feeds from the Nigeria Bureau of Customs did show that our trade performance for the year 2024 really, really improved, at least by 2.6%. So is that not a plus for the industry?
That factor is fictitious. I don't know who gave that information. That information is not correct.
Why do you say that?
Our throughput is low, and you must understand what is driving the revenue drive is exchange rate. Exchange rate is almost 1,000. The increase is almost 1,000% increase.
Right.
So the exchange rate is quadruple. So when the exchange rate is what drives the whole thing. When you calculate the exchange rate with the when you look at the money collected in revenue, and you put it together in the exchange rate and go back to the former exchange rate you get before the increase, you notice to per dollar, you notice that the exchange rate is just a factor.
Okay.
There's nothing we are bringing there because the exchange rate is just a factor. It's not. We don't have to celebrate that at all.
Okay. So what are the biggest obstacles that is hindering the growth and, of course, the efficiency of Nigeria's port and trade systems?
The port and trade system is being hindered by wrong, conventions are not applied in our laws. Most of the laws today, they remove the conventions and duplicate them, and it is not in line with international best practice. Our port is bedeviled with lengthy and cumbersome procedures. It's one of the most expensive ports in the world. So many charges are brought in without law. And they are trying to introduce more without having any legal backing.
Right.
Our procedures that are in the port have not been backed by law. We have procedures in the port like we have today. We have valuation procedures that are duplicated. The valuation procedures, the new Custom Act is duplicated. You have two laws. Two laws. One of them, they remove the convention. One of them, the convention is there. So those things are inhibiting trade. They are in position. They are not in line with international best practice. The ports need a total overhauling.
Right.
The port cannot attract foreign direct investment because when you look at our act and you look at our procedures, they are archaic. They don't meet up with international best practice.
So let's begin to break that down now. Your own constituency is the customs. Let's even start from there. Last year alone, the customs, while giving their report, did say that they've been able to do a whole lot in terms of generating revenues for.
Leave that one. I told you the revenue there is exchange rate.
Right.
Exchange rate. Leave those revenue matter.
Okay.
It's exchange rate. Yes. Leave the exchange rate.
But
Mr. Let me explain to you.
Right.
The man you are talking to is a man that was appointed to reform the service. The custom service.
Right.
I have served in 168 government committee, 9 presidential, want to reform customs. I'm not talking as just a player. I'm talking as a reformist. I introduced many of the tools that we are using today in the port industry.
Right.
So I'm talking as somebody who have information from facts.
So from what you can see, so let's talk about the customs. So from what you can see, how are we performing with the customs in terms of trade facilitation?
The present Custom Act has a lot of hindrance. It must be reviewed.
Okay.
It must be reviewed. Yes, it must be reviewed. There's a lot of duplication. There's a lot of misgiving. There's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of imposition. The minister have no powers in that act. The stakeholder have no powers in that act. And that act is mutilated. It's destructive. It is not a act that is supposed to be used by any government.
Right. So, but this act,
yes, I've written to the government and explained some areas, just 40%.
Right.
Of areas that must be reviewed.
Now, this act,
when you are talking about trade facilitation, trade facilitation is all about one. A trade must be consistent. A trade must be predictable, and a trade must be transparent. Not the present Custom Act. Not the present one.
All right.
There's a lot of problems there.
So the act was
number two.
Right.
Now, let me explain. You invite me for your program, and let me explain.
Okay, then go ahead.
Number two, you have a port concession that is not concession; it's lease agreement. That law must be put in place.
Okay.
The Port Act, the concession we are using has no backing. There's no law backing it. It's a lease agreement that's supposed to spend 5 years. And now we are moving. You see, most of these things that are done create a lot of problem. The gridlock you see was the mishandling of the concession.
Right.
If the concession have been handled and places like things like the trailer park and holding bay are put into the concessions and many other areas, we will not be having issues. Okay. Look at the Eto collection.
The call-up system, right?
The call-up is an illegal thing because it's an MPA. MPA is to make sure the port access roads the port is assessed. And yes, MPA created all those problems when they are concession in the port. The port was concession by removing most of the elements that makes the port system. Things like holding bay, trailer parks, yes. And those things are things that are actually hindering the port. The call-up system now is being paid by licensed custom agents. Everything you see that you are collecting, you are talking about revenue, is being paid by the licensed custom agent.
Okay.
Either from NIMASA. NIMASA is there. It's just there. Dancing and dancing. The two tools that are supposed to trigger up employment is not being used.
Okay, let's talk about a bit of let's touch a bit on infrastructure that will make Nigeria very, very competitive. Mr. Amiweru, how would you describe our maritime infrastructure?
We don't have infrastructure. When you talk about infrastructure, it's not just to build a port. You must build a port. Look at when you're talking about infrastructure. It's not a multimodal port system. They are just awarding rail. What year will they finish that rail? When you are trying to do things, you bring experts.
Right.
A multimodal port system is that the rail must be there. If you look at the Lekki port, there's no rail. Tinkham port, there's no rail. Apapa port, there was a rail before, but most of the rail, you cannot use them. And rail is the cheapest means of transport. You cannot run any system in this country without rail. And the port rail is the most important rail because to convey your goods from port to point, the multimodal transport system must be accommodated in your plans.
Right.
Those are the things. Yes.
But some observers are saying at least the coming on board of the Lekki Deep Sea Port is a plus for Nigeria.
How can it be a plus when there's no rail? Have you count the cost of going to Lekki Seaport to do your job? You see, we should not be talking with politicians. You talk with experts.
Right. So what do you think needs to be done to position Nigeria as a leading maritime hub then in West Africa?
You cannot be a leading maritime hub with politicians. You cannot be a leading maritime hub with politicians. They are introducing more charges in the port. The politicians come, they have interest, too much of interest. And that is why when you go to Ghana, they have a divide. You don't cross their boundary. They go, when you get to that area, they tell you, no, you cannot come here. Look at their system, it's working. Right. Because the politicians know where they stop. Our own, we go to any extent to do what we want to do. So we are killing our industry with, you have to bring technocrats, experts. I have served in 168 government committee. It's not one committee, two committee. And one of them is to reform customs. So I'm not telling you of going to the no. I'm talking as an expert.
Right.
I'm a trade procedure expert. Yes.
Okay then.
So
All right.
I'm telling you, and I'm involved in all these things.
All right. Just a second,
So
Lagos.
it's not going to build big seaports.
Right.
Many big seaports are built all over the world. No cargo goes there.
All right.
There's what we call destination of cargo. Destination of cargo that is at the destination attract the cargo. Ships go there. You don't build a port because of you feel that cargo will go to your port. No.
Okay,
you must
then.
know what you do so that it actually goes to where is safe, where is cheap,
All right.
where is secured, and where is transparent.
Okay then, Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. This morning, we're building a competitive maritime sector in Nigeria. The roles of policy, infrastructure, and human capital. And Mr. Lucky Amiwero, maritime consultant and currently president of the National Council of Managing Directors of Licensed Custom Agents, is our guest. We're going to take a short break right now. When we return, we hear from you on 09153877127. and 08099120777. What questions do you have for my guest this morning, and what do you think we need to do in order to really position Nigeria as a great maritime destination? These are many more we'll be reflecting on, but a brief break, we'll be back.
From A to B, from A to B, from north to south, from north to south, from east to west, from east to west, from port to port, from port to port. You can ship your goods and feel good too. Oh yeah, Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the point of your need.
The Nigerian Shippers Council is now better poised with responsive systems in place to help you and other shippers get seamless, stress-free transition for your clients' goods from point A to B. Today at the Nigerian Shippers Council, timeliness, orderliness, transparency, and efficiency is all we care about. Put your complaint through to our helpline 0818-888-8895. Visit us at number 4 Ayodele Shoyode Lane, Apapa, Lagos, or reach us on www.shipperscouncil.gov.ng.
Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the point of your need.
Nigerian Shippers Council, we meet you at the port of your needs.
Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. Maritime Today is the program, and I still have with me on the phone line this morning. I have Mr. Lucky Amiwero, a prominent voice in the maritime sector, and we are looking at how best to make the industry much more competitive. Allows our corridor still enjoying very fast movement within the zone at the moment. And we can tell you, Latif Jack on the road is looking very good from the roundabout. Of course, Wemco Junction, Agidingbi, Cadbury, that entire stretch of 2 kilometers looking pretty good this wonderful morning. Other areas too, they are looking very good too. All right, so Mr. Amiwero, from all you've been describing, it appears everything is not moving smoothly. You've not seen any area that could be of prospects for us in this sector. Are there areas that you can talk about that we're doing well?
The reforms we have in the port was done in 2006. The critical reforms, they are done in 2006. That is the port reforms and the customs reforms. And the customs reforms had been done, but the customs reforms actually was not implemented. They just picked some of the implementation. I was involved in most of all these things. There's a difference between somebody talking on radio and talking about the economy and somebody that is involved in the whole system.
Right.
Like I told you, I have served in 168 of those government. That is not local government or state government. It's national government and presidential, 9 of them, to bring about the changes. We made the changes in 2006. I wrote about the destination inspection. I wrote about that destination inspection, pre-shipment inspection. I wrote we fought and cancelled it and brought in destination inspection.
Right.
Up till today, destination inspection was brought to shift the component of payments from the international community into Nigeria, so that is what actually happened when a destination inspection was introduced. I wrote about destination inspection and it was introduced.
All right.
And when it was introduced, we noticed that some of the few areas were not put in another.
All right.
That was given the whole contract, and we have to right and protest.
Okay, so I'm having some reactions for you already on the WhatsApp line. Chima Obi is sending a message. He says, good morning. What are the biggest challenges preventing Nigeria from having a competitive maritime industry? Chima Obi, thank you so much for this one. So what do you think are the biggest challenges?
The challenges is that Nigeria as a country, is it a preferred port? Is it a transshipment port? Is it a transit port? Is it a load center?
So
we lack all this.
From your assessment, what kind of ports? What kind of ports do we have?
We have a river ports, and we have some ports that are there that are designed that are not having the components of multimodal transport concept. So that means it must lack that aspect of efficiency and revenue. When you are talking about cost, it will continue to increase cost until you put those factors in place. If you are building a port, in Nigeria, a place like Nigeria, that is having the northern part of Nigeria is a landlord country. What do you call landlord country? They don't have a port there.
Right, like
so
Nigeria.
Northern part supposed to have a port. And our law today is having a navigational port. So there is no port that is backed by law in the north. No port. Because the Port Act is navigational.
Right.
The minister can only declare a port that is navigational.
All right. This one says, good morning, Victor. I am Raphael. Please, Mr. Lucky, the Apapa gridlock has been a persistent issue. What sustainable solutions do you recommend? Thank you. All right. Raphael, I do appreciate you for that one. All right. So, Mr. Lucky.
Yes. The solution is very clear. When the concession was made, many of the key components were not put in place. The concession took over all the ports area,
right,
and concession them. Things like trailer park and holding bay were not there. Yes, we have expanded. If you look at Apapa is a port city, having almost 3 ports. You have PTML, you have Tinkan, and you have Apapa port. And if you go to Ghana, you don't have the port as big as Apapa. You have small port, but properly managed. You go to Togo, they don't have a port as big as Apapa, but it's a small port properly managed. If you go to Côte d'Ivoire, they don't have a bigger port like Apapa, but it's properly managed. Are we managing our ports? We need to reorganize, reinvent, do a lot of reorganization by setting up committee to put our port in order.
All right.
Or else we'll be losing cargo to our neighboring countries.
All right, this one says...
the neighboring countries are building their ports for our cargo.
All right.
There are countries like Togo, Côte d'Ivoire, Niger, Ghana. Ghana is taking over our transit. Our transit is in Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire.
Which is quite unfortunate. All right, I'm having more reactions, but you can also send in your questions to 09153877127. You can put a call through with that one. This one says, hello, how can we attract more young Nigerians to careers in maritime and logistics? Happy New Month. You didn't put your name. Thank you so much for that one. So, is there anything that we can do in terms of building capacity to bring in more professionals?
Yes, there's a lot. We have built capacity since 1999 in the port industry. I've lectured within the port industry, within Shippers Council, within the corridor of power. I have done that lecture. I've been able to do that, and many people are doing that. But we need the government to sponsor those things because it is actually enshrined in the trade agreements.
Okay.
The trade facilitation agreements actually have a component of capacity building that must be done to traders. And when you say traders, licensed custom agent, because the customs are being trained by government. Who is training the licensed custom agent? If we don't, people like us are not in the industry to train our people. As at now, customs have not trained anybody. What they go up and down to do is to launch one thing, launch this and that. Right. And if you look at the new act have a lot of misgiving, controversies, which must be corrected because it's not good to trade. And apart from that, when you are introducing a new act, you must bring training. Training is not just training, it's capacity building.
Right.
Because the training of trade is trade procedure.
Okay, let's take more reactions. This one says, good morning. Smuggling and under-declaration of goods are persistent problems. So how can we tackle them? Bumi is sending that one in. Bumi, thank you so much. Smuggling another declaration, Mr. Amiwero. He says that's
smuggling another declaration and normal customs work. That is why you have reforms, you have scanners, you have the platforms, you have the risk management. That's why you have the risk management concept, where you have the amber lights, you have the low, you have the medium, you have the high risk, and you have the other risk which you can move to importer's warehouse and go there for inspection in terms of this thing which is supposed to be AEO. And AEO is launched without any training from the agents.
All right.
Importers are not trained.
Okay.
That is the kind of country we are.
So,
we are launching something that the people are not trained. And you are talking about trade facilitation.
Which is kind of unfortunate. All right, then. Let me see if I can still take some more reactions. This one says, hello and happy new month to you, Mr. Victor and Mr. Lucky. Please, are Nigerian maritime agencies embracing automation, or is there resistance to change? Steve from Dolphin Estate is saying that one. Steve, thank you so much. So, automation, are we really embracing that to improve trade facilitation?
We are embracing multiple automation. Multiple. Central Bank is having their own. Customs is having their own. NAFDAC is having their own. Everybody is having multiple. And we are talking about single window. For instance, when you look at the Custom Act, they fixed in single window there.
Right.
And the government is talking about single window to be established as IROF. IROF, single window is not to make revenue. Single window is to facilitate trade.
Okay.
Single window does not increase revenue. When you facilitate trade, revenue is increased. That is the truth. So they have actually approached FIROS. They have actually approached this since 2006.
So are you saying, Mr. Amiwero, are you saying now that government move to put all tax and, of course, internal generating revenues into one single window? Are you saying it's not the right step?
What they have designed in the Custom Act, you are having too many of those acts having a deploying mechanism. When you say deploying mechanism, that means those people have the right to deploy their own platform. And what you need in any country is a single platform that harmonizes all the data into one for simple application. That is what is called single window. Single window is for single application so that the data are harmonized. So that people, you can move your cargo in the next 1 or 2 minutes, 3 minutes, when you have the backside have been taken care of. Right. The single window is not connecting to custom. No, it's harmonizing of data. Harmonizing of data. Because the data of NAFTA and customs, the one of SON and all, must be harmonized into one sheet.
Let me hear from you. Really, 2 weeks ago, there was this big noise over the sudden introduction of the 4% processing charge. And, most of the people that were in that industry, the freight forwarders, the importers, they all, took a big, loud noise against it until it was suspended. What's your take on that 4% processing fee that was introduced and later suspended?
Most of them are shouting in the port. That is what I've been fighting for the past years. To be able to have a good customs act. Customs act is not a service, it's not customs law. It is an act of government. That act is owned by the minister to regulate the economy. If you look at that act, the minister has no powers on that act.
Which of the ministers?
Yes, the Minister of Finance have no powers.
Okay.
It is customs that is doing almost everything. The manufacturers are in problem. Everybody's in problem. So that act must be reviewed. It must be comprehensively reviewed. If you look at Ghana actually have their own act in 2015.
Right.
Simple. 125 this thing. And it was done by the minister.
But this act had just been signed. It was just signed last year in 2023. It's a 2023 act, right?
Yes, 2023 act. And it's mutilated, confused. You'll find out that you have provisions that are not having text. You have texts that are not having provisions. You have duplication. Procedures are duplicated. And this thing did not go through the Senate. It did not pass through the Senate hearing, public hearing.
Okay. So let's begin to round this up now because of time constraints, Mr. Amiwero. So what's your final message to policymakers, industry stakeholders, and even the Nigerian public? What's your message? You have to bring experts. When Obasanjo came in, he looked for experts.
You don't bring politicians to come and change something they don't know. A man who has been in a system in some area playing politics, you bring him to come and take over the port. He doesn't know anything. He be living and be controlled by people who want to continue to do the wrong thing. If you look at our port system, it's one of the most expensive, with so many charges that are not backed by law. Some of them they are still more they are trying to introduce, and we are resisting them. That 4% is just small you are talking about. If you look at all the this custom act, if you are producing anything, you pay to custom. They call it cost-based fees.
Right.
You have special fees.
Okay.
So,
all right.
And apart from the 4%, that means if that thing is implemented, there will be a close down in the whole country.
Okay, then. We have to leave it at that now because of time constraints. Let me say a big thank you to you for making it through on the program this morning. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, then. So I've been speaking with Mr. Lucky Amiwero. And, of course, he's been able to take us to the classroom on how we can be competitive, talking about policy, infrastructure, and human capital. And Lucky Amiwero is a maritime consultant and president of the National Council of Managing Directors of Licensed Custom Agents, NMDCLCA. All right, then we have to go. The program has been produced by Mike James. Maximum thanks to Faith Ojokon in the building. I want to appreciate Afe John and Okpayemi Shodunke, as well as our executive producer Tayo Akonle. I leave you with these words as I round off this beautiful Saturday. You can never cross the ocean unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. Till Monday, when I make a return, my name is Victor Oteri. Maximum thanks to Rebecca Adamu, Assistant Director of Public Relations for the Nigerian Shippers Council. And you can connect with the Shippers Council on all their platforms at NG Shippers.